Cher Augustin, cher Arnaud, chers amis, dear friends, it's my pleasure to be with you today again, physically. And I would like to extend, Monsieur le Président, my warmest thanks to Paris Europlace for having maintained through the crisis this fruitful and necessary dialogue. And before turning to my main point today, I want to stress the resilience of our French financial institutions through this crisis. They have played a major role in helping our economy weather this pandemic. It was popular a year ago to predict a financial apocalypse, and certain Europeans prone to self-flagellation are still doing so today, whereas the Americans are more self-confident. The reality speaks for itself. French banks' core equity tier 1 was higher at the end of the first quarter of 2021, with 15%, than it was before the crisis. Their profitability, however still insufficient, has improved sharply in this Q1. In general, I stress it, French banks are in no way under-provisioned. And France and Europe are not facing a tsunami of bankruptcies, as sometimes read. They should, on the contrary, see a strong recovery, cumulative growth of more than 10% for France and the euro area over 2021 and 22. So, we need to remain vigilant, but let us stop scaring ourselves. This roughly reassuring situation is in no way a call for complacency or status quo. The COVID-19 crisis is acting as an accelerator for the major structural challenges banks and insurers are facing. And these challenges are also putting creative pressure on us, central banks and supervisors. I will have some words at the end on this key issue of sustainable finance, but let me focus mainly on one road for the future, which we should follow together, towards innovative payments and CBDC. You will perhaps remember that our last meeting here, last October, was about payments, and many things changed since then. I think it's very important to see where we are. Once regarded as the plumbing behind the financial system, as the boring technical stuff, attitudes to a CBDC and to payments in general have dramatically changed over the past 18 months. These issues are now at the top of the central banking agenda. And as is often the case with major innovations, reactions to the idea of a CBDC are, say, mixed. Let me start by clarifying one major point. No decision has been taken at this stage on whether or not to create a digital euro. And before any such decision is made, rest assured that all necessary analysis will be properly conducted. It is with this mindset, intent on supporting innovation, but within a framework of trust, that the Banque de France has been leading the way on a possible CBDC over the last 2 years. And the time has come to share with you some of the main learnings regarding 3 basic questions. Why, how, and when? Why? I shall sum up some very strong trends as a triangle of risk, and I have some slides. We'll see whether it works. Yes, it works, apparently. First, on retail payments. Over the last 18 months, cash has accelerated its decline, while the share of dematerialized payment has increased twice as fast as before the crisis, from 51% in 2019 to 50% in the first half of this year. There is also a strong shift towards the tokenization of financial assets. This dual trend, decline of cash and tokenization, could lead to the marginalization of the use of central bank money, be it in the form of banknotes or in settlement systems. We as central banks will never abandon cash, but this commitment can obviously not be our sole response to technological change. Second, the emergence of big techs and new settlement assets, crypto assets and stablecoins, could threaten our monetary sovereignty and our mandate to safeguard financial stability. Third, and final factor, the progress made by extra-European CBDCs, and notably by the digital yuan, already accessible in the major Chinese cities. The risk is clearly that Europe will lose momentum, or would lose momentum, not just in its drive to strengthen the international role of the euro, but even in preserving it. The challenge here is also a geopolitical concern. Let me come to the how question. How could we reassert the anchoring role of central bank money? Thanks to a holistic approach. We want to be proactive and move forward in partnership with commercial banks. Let me stress this very important point, which belongs to the frequently asked questions and even worries. A CBDC would be created with banks, not against them, nor in spite of them. I can go even further. In the digital universe, a CBDC can help to preserve the complementarity between central bank money and commercial bank money. Failing this, commercial banks would face a difficult challenge competing with the big techs and the unrivaled resources and network effects, and competing with private stablecoins. With that complementarity in mind, let me now turn to what I call the triangle of actions. The first action in response to the risks is, of course, regulatory. Our main challenge, our first challenge, our most urgent challenge is to avoid regulatory arbitrage, where players relocate to other jurisdictions to circumvent regulations. We must ensure that all countries apply strict regulation regarding crypto assets. Let me be crystal clear. No stablecoin arrangement should enter into operation without having fully met the regulatory expectations. The European Union has been a pioneer in this field, putting forward last September, a proposal for a so-called markets in crypto assets regulation, also known by its acronym MiCA. I sincerely hope the EU shall adopt this first harmonized regulatory framework in the coming months. If EU modifies the Commission's proposal, it should only be to strengthen it. Crypto asset issuers and entities providing additional services, such as transfer or custody, will in particular have to provide a predictable redemption right in sovereign currency for asset holders. At international level, there should be an efficient cooperative framework adapted to the diversity of risk and challenges raised by crypto assets. The second action is to foster the major private project to create a unified, innovative, and autonomous European solution, the European Payment Initiative, EPI. Concretely, EPI will provide European citizens with an innovative and competitive European payment solution as an alternative to the dominant and extra-European players already established in Europe, or, still more, the big techs in the future. Let me pay tribute to those who are driving the EPI project, and some of them are in this audience. Let me encourage them to implement it as quickly as possible. We need to speed up. Autumn 2021's go, no-go decision stage. And the governing bodies also have to be put in place as soon as possible to help EPI deploy on a pan-European scale. Public authorities are and will remain, I guarantee it, completely committed in their support. The European Commission, in order to validate the economic model. Ministers in the different countries, starting with France and Germany. And we, as Eurosystem, supported EPI right from the start. And we are committed to providing the underlying settlement infrastructures, including TIPS, which is a powerful European asset. And EPI will be most welcome to participate in the front-end prototype of the CDBC I will come to later. But I must stress the urgency here. We don't have much time left, 1 or 2 years. Everybody is talking about a CBDC, and I will do that in 1 minute. But first, and much earlier, before CBDC, we need to regulate crypto assets, MiCA, and we need to implement EPI. Obviously, the third and final action in my triangle is to be ready to launch a general-purpose CBDC, to reassert the anchoring role of central bank money in case of need. But let me insist on what I mean by a general purpose or dual purpose. Public attention is naturally focused on a retail digital currency for individuals and firms. But a wholesale or interbank form of CBDC is also important, at least as important, particularly as the use cases are already even more obvious and because this interbank money will be vital for cross-border transactions. The next investigation phase, probably decided by the Eurosystem, and the technological prototypes selected by this Eurosystem will, in my view, need to cover both these functions, retail and wholesale, separately or together. The results of the ECB's public consultation, published last April, shows that European citizens regard 2 aspects as particularly important: privacy and security. Therefore, the retail CBDC would be made available to citizens as an easy-to-use, secure, and accessible payment instrument. How would it be distributed? We want to develop a model where CBDC is distributed by intermediaries. First and foremost, the banking sector. Let me be clear on this. It is not the Banque de France or any central bank's role to open private bank accounts. We at the Banque de France closed the last ones almost 20 years ago. Client relationships will remain the preserve of private players, to which central banks will provide the central bank money. I sometimes also hear fears that CBDC accounts will drain or would drain commercial deposits and dry up bank liquidity. No. No. As I see it, they will offer no greater advantage in terms of remuneration, and there will have to be a limited amount that can be held in CBDC. In addition, the ECB has shown that it is more than capable of safeguarding bank liquidity. Let me say it this way. If the CBDC is going in the future to replace any liquid financial assets, then it is more likely to be banknotes in the long term and crypto assets. In short, the scenario of a CBDC causing massive bank disintermediation is more a finance fiction fantasy than a serious analysis. One word about the interbank or wholesale CBDC. It would enable the efficient and secure settlement of transactions. We at the Banque de France have already completed 5 experiments on this wholesale CBDC. We will publish through the summer a comprehensive stock-taking. Let me already stress 3 major lessons we learned. First lessons. 2 experiments have proved that tokenized central bank money helps settling financial securities more efficiently and rapidly, instantaneously indeed, compared with day+2 currently. And hence, it generates savings in liquidity and capital, which in turn lowers cost. Second lesson, a CBDC can also facilitate cross-border payments, thanks to the use of DLT technology, distributed ledger, and the interoperability of CBDC systems in different jurisdictions. We have this year, you probably saw it, joined forces with the Swiss National Bank, the BIS Innovation Hub, and a private sector consortium within a project named Jura. I must say that this cooperation with the Swiss authorities was before yesterday's football game, but we go on. Third, existing market infrastructure, third lessons like T2S and players, and future systems based on distributed ledger technology will need to be interoperable. Decentralized finance is still not mature enough to handle large volumes of transactions, and therefore it will not replace conventional systems from one day to another. Centralized and decentralized systems alike will have to coexist securely and efficiently. I come briefly to my last question. When? When should we get ready to introduce a CBDC? As rapidly as necessary. We need to prepare ourselves without hesitation. And this is my last slide with some stages we already went through. But let me stress the future. As early as next July, so in the next month, the Governing Council could give the green light to launch an investigation phase, which would begin next autumn and last until 2023. At that date, the Governing Council will decide on whether to launch a digital euro. We will then need a few years of serious preparatory work to turn an e-euro into reality. Let me stress it again. On both digital currency and payments, we in Europe must be ready to move as quickly as possible, as quickly as needed, or if we don't move, we would risk an erosion of our monetary sovereignty, something we cannot tolerate. And it's not only a question for central banks, it's a question for all of us, public and private authorities alike. European citizens must have access durably to effective and independent means of exchange. This is the only mention I will make of sustainable finance. We could say that this is a very ambitious agenda. Indeed, it is for Europe. But recent experience in the field of green finance, sustainable finance, shows that we Europeans can do it. Remember where we were 5 years ago on central bank implication on climate. Nowhere. Remember where green finance was. And look where we are today in Paris and in Europe, thanks also to your commitment and to Paris Europlace. I shall conclude with the words of Keynes, who reminds us that, I quote him, the importance of money flows from it being a link between the present and the future. Our duty as guardian of the currency is precisely to bolster confidence, which is key for innovation, and to lay the ground for the future. Confidence first and foremost in the currency, be it a banknote, an electronic, or maybe tomorrow a digital currency. Confidence as well in the ability of financial institutions to finance the economy in Paris and in Europe. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Governor, for this very energetic presentation and speech concerning all these questions of crypto assets and the role of the central banks, the key issue of the way the central bank currencies will continue their role in the future, and also the big question of the disintermediation possibilities which can be as a consequence of these new currencies or not. And also the question of the global competition with other areas, mostly in Asia, like the United States. So we are working on these issues very closely with the central bank. We, as Europlace, have submitted proposals to the European Commission concerning the MiCA regulation, and we will continue to work together on these issues. I would like now to thank all our participants. We got more than 1,000 people connected, not during all the afternoon, but from time to time to our conference throughout the world, from Asia, from United States, from Europe. So I want to thank all our friends and promise or hope that next time we will be able to organize once again this meeting physically and to have the opportunity to welcome you in Paris for beautiful days. But thank you very much for having participated by web. I thank also the participants here, the 100 people who have participated physically to this meeting. And I wish you all the best for the summer. As you have understand, Paris is in a new dynamic. The European recovery offers new opportunities, and we are welcoming all international market participants to come to Europe and through Paris to make business opportunities in the future of this economic recovery. Thank you very much to all of you.